Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us. I'm Chris Berleth, president of the Columbia Montour Chamber of Commerce, and I serve as the host and moderator of tonight's event. Tonight we'll hear from the two registered candidates for Bloomsburg Mayor. Tonight's forum is sponsored by the Chamber, whose mission is to represent employers in support of vibrant, sustainable communities in Columbia and Montour counties. In pursuing this mission, it's crucial that we maintain positive working relationships with officials at every level of government, from local to county, state, and federal. The Chamber is a 501c6 nonprofit which advocates on behalf of its members through those working relationships. The Chamber does not endorse candidates for office and remains nonpartisan. In an increasingly polarized time for our country, at the federal level, we're experiencing gridlock and a government shutdown. At the state level, we've seen partisan bickering deadlock the state budget for 90 days. We gathered this evening to set an example at the local level, that it's not just possible, but expected that we may be civil and respectful while discussing opposing ideas. That we may think on our feet about our vision for the future rather than rely on canned responses to the questions set before us. Both candidates, by agreeing to participate tonight, have agreed to honor the Chamber's Code of Conduct, which calls for civility in public discourse. I urge you, our audience, to uphold this calling as well, and to conduct yourselves as representatives of our beloved community, leading with grace and respect. My good friend Joe McGranahan, the former mayor of Shamokin Dam, who has now passed, used to say this about events like tonight, that they exist to generate light, not heat. We host this event tonight not to pose gotcha questions to our candidates or to upset anyone, but rather we expect to gain valuable perspectives on our candidates' respective positions and philosophies of leadership and decision-making. So with that, let's begin with a thank you to our candidates for their love of Bloomsburg and their intentions for the future of the region. As to format, each candidate will be presented with the same questions in rotating order with 2 minutes for responses. Our timekeeper will hold the candidates accountable to our time limits, and you'll see Tim Wagner's at the front of the room with that great responsibility. He has 3 signs with him. The first one is start, which is green. The second one is a 30-second warning, and the stop or red is for when time has expired. Candidates were not provided the question in advance, but moments ago did receive a typed copy so as to follow along with my rambling nature. A coin flip has determined who will go first and has determined that Justin will open our forum, and then Mark will end the event with the final word in our closing remarks. At approximately 7:45 this evening, we'll take a 10-minute break. During this time, audience members may submit questions for consideration, which should be written as legibly as humanly possible, that's for Taryn, not for me, on an index card and given to one of our staff or volunteers. These questions will be screened, and a limited number of issue-based questions will be considered. Nothing of a personal nature will be accepted. The event will close at 8:30, and audience members whose questions were not asked will be encouraged to contact the respective candidates and their campaigns for any additional follow-up. Each candidate will have 2 minutes for closing remarks at the conclusion. Lastly, the event is being recorded and will be posted to the Chamber's YouTube channel within 24 hours of the close of the event. The recording will be edited to reflect a true start and stop time because it's been running a little on the early side and will run a little long, but no question or candidate response will be edited in any way. So, before we begin with the 2-minute questions, let's get to the hard stuff. Justin, true or false, a hot dog is a sandwich?
True.
Mark?
If it's in bread, it is.
Okay. Justin, pineapple is an acceptable pizza topping?
100%.
Mark?
Only if you want to eat it.
Okay. Justin, what is your favorite dinosaur?
Stegosaurus.
Mark?
One that's extinct.
Should toilet paper be hung over or under? Justin?
Works the same to me.
Mark?
It flows over.
Very good. Why is human morality stagnating as technology advances faster? No, I'm kidding. That's not for any. Let's get started with the real one, shall we? Justin, please introduce yourself to our crowd and to our recorded audience here on the camera and answer the question, why do you want to be mayor?
All right. Thank you, everybody, for coming tonight. My name's Justin Hummel. I've been a lifelong resident of the town of Bloomsburg. I have a degree in business management, and I do indeed love Bloomsburg. I'm a former Rotary Club president, school board president. I'm currently a member of the library board, the DBI board, Downtown Bloomsburg, Inc. I was a former president of the Friends of the Bloomsburg Town Pool, and I'm currently president of the McGee Christian Education Foundation. My parents' families have been in this town for over 5 generations. They've been active in civic life, major employers, downtown business owners, respected law practitioners, and have exhibited decades of charitable giving. My wife and I currently operate Brewski's Coffee and Bar, where we employ 22 people. I think that we can all agree it's a major upgrade from the hardware bar. And as such, we support many local nonprofits, including BTE, Arts in Bloom, the YMCA, EOS Therapeutic Riding, and several CU Bloomsburg activities and clubs. I've been around business my entire life. Being in the hospitality has developed what I think are my greatest strengths: innovation, the use of technology, creativity, efficient design, customer service, what makes an experience better, and adaptability, being quick on your feet and not being so in love with old ideas. I enjoy being mayor and have dedicated the majority of my time and my wife's time to furthering our community. I'm proud of what has been accomplished, and I look forward to continuing to make Bloomsburg the best damn town in Pennsylvania.
Thank you, Justin. Mark, to you, please introduce yourself and answer the question, why do you want to be mayor?
Thank you. My name is Mark Gardner, and I've been a resident of Bloomsburg for about 25 years and a native of Pennsylvania. I had a 40-plus year distinguished career in the financial services and banking industry, where I honed my skills in leadership, budgeting, strategic planning, marketing, and many other areas. I'm a graduate of Lehigh University with a BS in finance. I'm a graduate of Leadership Central Penn, and I'm a certified Master Gardener through the Penn State Extension. I'm a lifelong advocate for community service. Over my 40 years, I've touched almost 20 different organizations, and in many of those, they were very diverse organizations, and typically I rose to leadership positions. Some examples were president of the Chamber of Commerce here, president of BTE, vice chair of the Geisinger Authority, one of the founding members and program managers of Special Olympics for Columbia Montour counties, lifetime Elks member, and I've taught many educational programs for the youth of our community. As far as why I wanted to be mayor, if you would have asked me last August, I would have said, "What, are you kidding me?" But it started with a business owner that came to me, and his quotes were, "We need a change," and I paraphrased that part. "Mark, you've got the right background, the right talents, the right temperament, the right experience." At first I blew him off, but after that, hundreds of people have come to me giving that same message. We need a change, you've got the right background, you've got the right experience, and they eventually convinced me that this is the right thing to do. It's almost like a calling. So I'm putting myself out here after enjoying 2 years of peaceful retirement, and I'm here to do what's best for Bloomsburg.
Thank you, Mark. So I went looking for the job description for mayor of Bloomsburg, and that meant trying to find the charter for Bloomsburg and things like that. And I think the best description was actually in the Code of Ethics and Conduct for Elected and Appointed Officials, which is found on the Town of Bloomsburg website. And it says this: the mayor serves as president of the town council, provides oversight and direction of the police department, and does not interfere with the administrative function of the town manager or the professional duties of the town staff. The next several questions will relate to leadership in these functions then. So, Mark, our second question. Please describe your leadership style and your vision for presiding over the town council and public meetings.
The leadership style needs to be based upon the people, the situation, and definitely transparency. You have to be flexible enough to find ways to find the strengths in all of your teamwork, teammates, your workers, and things like that. You have to encourage them. You have to support them. but you also have to basically reprimand them behind the scenes if they go out of the lines of their proper duty. I have been a longtime leader in a variety of organizations. When you look at the difference from a chamber to a theater group to a hospital organization to a mental health group to a country club, you need different talents and different leadership styles to make that accomplish. I have not done everything right, but I've done the majority of things right. And as a leader, the key is to lead that organization better than when you first entered it.
Thank you, Mark. Justin, the same question. Please describe your leadership style and your vision for presiding over the town council and public meetings.
Okay, I believe that it's important to know your strengths and weaknesses in entering any situation. Certainly, public service is a unique position to be in because you come into a situation not picking your team necessarily. And when I've, in my businesses and other organizations that I've organized or been involved with, you try to find the people that are really good at what they do, and hopefully it's not things that you particularly feel you're good at, and continue to grow those strengths of those individuals in ways that best support the organization. I think that especially over in the time that I've been on council, it's been an interesting period of time to try to lead because of COVID and everything else. Public meetings were difficult. We had them on Zoom for a while. Now we're doing this hybrid thing, and at first it was, you had people on the screen and you had people in the room, and so it was certainly a challenge that we all adapt to. The other thing is we're all elected, so the cast of characters changes on a regular basis, and that oftentimes determines the function of the group as well. So I enjoy working with everyone that gets elected because I think it takes a lot of guts, and it certainly takes a lot of determination to want to be a public official. And working with then the leaders of the particular work groups that we have in town is interesting as well, because you're coming into a situation where these people have oftentimes years more experience in what they're doing than what you are. So at first anyway, it takes a while to absorb it all, develop your direction, and then work with the staff that you have. And I've enjoyed doing that.
Thank you, Justin. Our next question, so this is for Justin to begin. Mm-hmm. What has the council done well in the past 4 years? This could include specific projects, enacting or changing ordinances, or dealing with a specific issue.
Okay. Over the last 4 years, we have elevated 4 homes in the community. We've upgraded the Little League complex. We had major paving in 2023 for a large portion of town. We've instituted 6-second pedestrian lead times on all crosswalks downtown. We've improved the elementary school crosswalk, the Park Street crosswalk. We instituted a new website. We've put in camera systems to help prevent vandalism in the town park. We've increased our CRS, which is in relation to our flood insurance rating, to Class 6, which saves our residents 20% on flood insurance, mostly due to Charlie Fritz and our codes department. We put in a cell tower at the recycling center that's netting the town $40,000 annual revenue. There's a new boat launch where the creek meets the river. We checked off a lot of MS4, which are municipal separate storm sewer system projects on Kinney Run and Snyder Run that will help with flooding in the future. We've upgraded the town parking. We've improved the traffic through the recycling center. We've got a new public works director. We've instituted codes reform. We've had some major upgrades at the airport, including our thriving flight school. We've increased fuel sales by having them be self-serve and accepting credit cards. We've lowered our labor costs there. And we're about to initiate a new lease with Columbia Airways that will secure income for the town and relieve the maintenance expense of the old hangar building. And I would say one of the best new things that we've done would be the parking that we did at the Bloomsburg Fair this year, which netted over $8,000 to community partners that helped us in that endeavor. And I would like to especially thank Jacqueline Kressler for that idea. But I think we've done a lot.
Thank you, Justin. Mark, same question. What's the council done well in the past 4 years? This can include specific projects, enacting or changing ordinances, or dealing with a specific issue.
Just to let the members of the audience know, when the format was set up for this debate, we were told we could have prepared closing statements, but we are not to have notes during the presentations itself. So I will note that I don't have any notes prepared here, and I think we should all go by the same guidelines, even though it's a little late in the game. But as far as what the town has done well, that's not personally for me to make the decision. That decision is up to the majority of the residents to say what has been done extremely well. There have been some things, but again, it's up to all of you that are the elected, all the residents of our community. But on a simple basis, I will say that having the Zoom capability to attend meetings is beneficial. However, that I think the town should also be able to record all the meetings so that everybody can watch that at their convenience. Because sometimes on the Zoom, people aren't near a microphone, you can't hear them, it can be very challenging. So I think they should cooperate with people like the students at the university to improve that technology and try to make that better.
So Mark, our next question, what do you feel the town council could have done better?
Well, I think is what it could have done better is probably not have what I think is significant turnover within their department heads. You have the public works director, I guess, quote unquote, retire. Did he get some kind of package? I don't know that, but the public should. You have an airport manager that, quote unquote, retires, but then takes a job out of the area. And then you have a very respected police chief that retires or goes on to new opportunities. There seems to be a pattern in that, and it's just confusing or wondering why that happens. Is it forces within the organization, or is it just a random stream of departures of key people?
Justin, same question to you. What do you feel the town council could have done better?
I think that over the last 4 years, with the injection of the American Rescue Act funds into the community, which was $6.2 million, when we first got that money, there were restrictions put on it that were mostly centered around COVID, so we did a lot of outdoor and HVAC projects. We helped upgrade the HVAC at BTE. We helped upgrade the HVAC at the Bloomsburg Library. And we initiated the project with the BART because of the walkability study that we did with Simone Collins. We also put in the dog park. There's no way that you can endeavor to do as many projects as we have done. And one of the good things that I think we did with that money was that we were allowed to use it as matching funds for other grants. So we took that money and we stretched it as far as we possibly could to provide things for the town of Bloomsburg without starting any new programs that involved new employees or any type of long-term obligation to the town. So in doing those, there's always going to be hiccups. I've never done a project in my house or in my business that went exactly to plan. There's always got to be audibles you pull. So there were things that obviously could have been better. Anytime you start digging in the ground, there's going to be things you aren't expecting to find. As far as some of the turnover, I think that any of us who work or have worked in industries that have long-term employees, and especially in a union setting, there are people that are there for a very long time and work their way on up. And when there was this much going on and there was this much ability to do things differently, there were some people that just, it wasn't their thing. And that's understandable. Change is difficult no matter what organization you're in. So having the opportunity to have some of that turnover, sorry, okay, I'll leave it at that.
So, Justin, the next question is in a similar vein. There have been several changes to the staffing and administration of the town over the last 2 years, including changes in the structure of the police department, code enforcement, public works, and the airport. Please share with us your personal vision for the effective and efficient staffing of the town under the budget. As a follow-up, what do you admire most about the work done by the staff of the town of Bloomsburg, and what can be improved?
Okay. I have enjoyed working with everyone that has been an employee of the town of Bloomsburg, especially some of the older ones that have been here for a long time, because their heart is in this town, and you saw that. That doesn't mean that just because there was a way that things were getting done, that that's how it needs to be, or that it was the best way. It's just the way that had evolved over time. I'll give the airport as an example in that it's a bit of a difficult subject for some townspeople because not everyone's a flyer. But we have a thriving flight school down there. There's a world-class engine shop that's down there. And we're rented out as far as the available hangars that we have for planes. However, our business model down there, as far as what is good for town, is we make money on fuel sales and we make money on rent. And that's pretty much it. So finding ways to lower our expenses there through this new lease with Columbia Airways that we hope to get signed here by the end of the year will make sure that they're taking care of that old building and it's not coming out of taxpayer money. And then also with BJ retiring and moving on, we were able to get someone who BJ put a lot of work when that new terminal was put in and really got things going with the EAA and everything else that was going on down there. But now we have a dedicated part-time person that is doing an equally good job and has lowered the payroll there. Same thing with the retirement of John Fritz. Wonderful gentleman at the top of the pay scale. We've been able to get someone else down there that lowers our company payroll and has some new visions for how to do things in the future. So I expect some more productivity and new ideas out of these people that are coming through, and that's what we're seeing so far.
Thank you, Justin. Mark, so the same question once again is, there have been several changes to the staffing and administration of the town over the last 2 years, including changes in the structure of the police department, code enforcement, public works, and the airport. Please share with us your personal vision for the effective and efficient staffing of the town under the budget. As a follow-up, what do you admire most about the work done by the staff of the town of Bloomsburg, and what can be improved?
Well, I think the staff is doing a great job. Even with turnover, there are still good people there, and they seem very sincere and very dedicated to their efforts. So they should be complimented for that. But as Justin had mentioned, it's always continually changing times, and budget is a problem. Can we keep the same staffing level? That's hard to say right now. Should we be able to increase the staffing level? I wish we could, but time will tell. But the one thing that really caught myself and a lot of people off guard is when the restructuring to name, I don't know the right term, community strategies officer or whatever, we're basically getting rid of a lot of the department heads and having this one centralized person that should have all the talents. I think from the beginning, that was a bad idea. I communicated that, and fortunately, they walked away from that idea.
Mark, we'll continue with you for our next question. The mayor serves as the overseer and director of the police department. How safe do you perceive the town of Bloomsburg to be, and what can or should be done to make Bloomsburg even safer?
I believe the town of Bloomsburg is a safe place, but it's something we cannot just rest on our laurels. As you have other communities around us that have maybe less than desirable people starting to move this direction, we need to be very attentive to those kind of concerns. I think the other concern is as we expand the areas that the police has to surveil, it's going to put additional pressure and additional stress on them to go down as far as the pickleball court, to go all the way down BART, to go on the other side of town, that we need to make sure that they're all in the right frame of mind and have the proper support to do their jobs effectively to keep this the safe place that it has been and always should be.
Mark, thank you. Justin, our next question. I know everyone loves this question.
Am I not answering the police question?
I'm so sorry. I lost my track. All right, same question for you, Justin.
Okay.
The mayor serves as the overseer and director of the police department. How safe do you perceive the town of Bloomsburg to be, and what can or should be done to make Bloomsburg even safer?
I also agree that Bloomsburg is incredibly safe, but we are not any different than any other community with problems that we have as society. Being able to be more involved with the police department has been really eye-opening for me. We have an incredibly professional and dedicated force down there on 7th Street. Our standards as the Bloomsburg Police Department are higher than any other standard in our region, and everyone is very proud of that. I think also those of us that have been involved in the legal field or law enforcement, it's a lot of the same folks that you see. You know, we have a fair amount of frequent flyers. And the police do a good job of knowing who those people are, and a lot of what they're doing is social work right now. You know, whether it be drugs or poverty or whatever it is, people are struggling and they come to the police with those problems because those are the most successful. So I think we have done a lot of upgrades over the last 4 years as well. We've got new weapons, we've got new technology, we've got computers in cars, we got new body cameras, we got new tasers. We upgraded the HVAC at the police station. All sorts of trainings and other things. However, we are still, there's never going to be enough. But our police are our most expensive line item as well. And so I think balancing the payroll with proper policing is always going to be a challenge for any small community. We've looked into regionalization in the past, and that's a difficult nut to crack to get everybody together. But I think we keep doing what we're doing. We keep continuing to increase our community bonds. And when we have a community that is out and about and aware of their surroundings, that is what helps us community police.
Thanks, Justin. Again, apologies for
That's all right.
getting out of order here. Justin, the next question is for you. Parking in Bloomsburg. What do you think is next?
I think that we're not going to touch parking for a while. I think that moving to Passport as the parking app downtown is a significant upgrade over the Pango app. Not only is it easier to set up, it's easier to use. It reminds you when you're about to expire so that you can, wherever you are, whether you're in a meeting or in a restaurant or whatever, you can just hit a button and increase your time. You don't have to run back out. We got rid of all of our 50s era Dunkin' meters that jammed up regularly, and we were sort of Frankensteining all together in favor of digital meters that we have over 200 of downtown. So I think if you were someone coming from outside of the community and looking for some place to park downtown, every spot on Main Street has a meter that you can put a quarter into. Otherwise, the other advantage of Passport is that it's used in several other communities. So it makes sense to use it whether you are in Bloomsburg or not. In fact, we have 15,000 registered users, and there's only 12,000 people in Bloomsburg. So the uptake has been, rather successful. Now, it is not everybody's cup of tea, and I get it. But we are also on the cusp of this as a society where we are balancing new technologies with people that don't want to adopt them. And that's understandable. We have tried to meet that balance of old and new. It's worked very well. We've also tried to be as responsive to the business downtown, where there are certain businesses that have a clientele that are more interested in those meters. We've gotten meters closer to those places. We've also made parking free from West Street to Jefferson on Main in an effort to say, look, we recognize that there are areas that are not parked up. There's no reason to have a meter there. We have also offered public lots for employee parking downtown that no one wound up taking. But I think it shows an effort to try to be as adaptable to the needs of the community.
Justin, thank you. Mark, parking in Bloomsburg. What do you think is next?
Well, it's unfortunate that the parking items are a revenue item on the budget. It's also unfortunate that we can't have free parking downtown, allegedly because people warehousing their cars or merchants parking in the spots. It's very confusing to many people as to how or where do you park downtown. Is it a permit-only area? Is it a app and coin? Is it a coin only? I find it very challenging myself, and even though the younger generation likes to do the apps and things like that, many people that I have talked to just refuse to use the app for a variety of reasons. I know with myself and others that have some visual challenges, it's not the easiest to try to be parking somewhere, looking at a little phone, trying to figure out what's going on. So personally, when I go downtown, it's very rare that I don't walk because of the confusion. I just wonder how many of our potential visitors may have similar concerns.
Thank you, Mark. Our next question. Many investments have been made in recent years regarding recreation and quality of life in the town of Bloomsburg, including the BART, updates to the parking lot near the baseball field, Gillespie Park, the Avenue, the boat launch, basketball courts, pickleball courts, pollinator fields, the skate park, and more. What are your thoughts on these investments, and what would be next under your leadership?
Well, the one thing I would say is I wasn't part of council when all of these funds became available. Are these the best projects that could have been done with the money? I don't know that. But I think focusing on the quality of the projects and not the quantity of the projects is most important. I mean, when you look at the BART, it's very well used, but also creates a lot of challenges for traffic. So with this whole area of focusing on recreation, now that the money's spent, we have to figure out how to maintain it. Because I don't think that was really factored into the process. How many other projects were over budget? Look at the things now with the pickleball court. Again, they're great ideas, but you got to keep them in budget, you got to keep them maintained, and you got to prioritize what you need. So with the money being spent, we now need to find a way to capitalize on making that whole area a regional recreation hub.
Justin, same question. Many investments have been made in recent years regarding recreation and quality of life in the town, including the BART, et cetera, et cetera. I won't read through all those.
All right.
What are your thoughts on these investments, and what would be next under your leadership?
Right. I think that we are already seeing the return on things like the BART and the dog park and certainly the pool. The amount of people that are coming into the community to use these things, when you're seeing cars pull in with bikes on the back to come ride that. We, again, worked on these projects because they're steps in the right direction. I think that we should not let perfection get in the way of progress. And there is not a whole lot of work that needs to go into resurfacing a basketball court or a tennis court or any of these other things. And honestly, the pickleball thing was overblown. There's nothing the matter down there. As I said before, sometimes you get into projects that, you run into things that you didn't expect. Certainly the pool, we had a lot of issues with the contractor there. There was no way to do that. Because the other thing that people need to keep in mind is that this is public money. So when we are going out and have to bid these things, unless there's a good reason to not go with the person that gives us the lowest bid, that's who we have to work with. And when you're doing projects like this, luckily we've been able to use a lot of local contractors that are great to work with. Donnie Bauer, Robert C. Young. But when it comes to pools and things like that, you have to go with the commercial pool providers, and there's only so many on the eastern side of Pennsylvania. So, there's nothing that doesn't come without a complication, but what we have done is make life in Bloomsburg, to anyone that comes here, whether you're looking to buy a house or looking to go to college or just looking to spend some time with your children, it's a much better place to be. And yeah, there will be some maintenance costs, but there's maintenance costs to anything, and you certainly would not buy a car because you might have to maintain it. You would not buy a house because you might need to maintain it. These things, the BART is no different than a road, and honestly, it would get a lot less abuse because people are just walking and biking on it. So all of these things that we have taken the first step in, we can improve going forward and will not be that difficult to maintain.
Justin, sticking with you, our ninth question, you guys are motoring through these. Thank you. In your opinion, what are Bloomsburg's priority issues and what is needed to adequately address those issues? If funding is needed, how should those funds be generated?
I think our main priority issue right now is there's a lot of influx with the university. We're seeing a lot influx with funding for students to be able to attend university. And the university is a huge economic driver in town. They are our largest employer. Those kids that come matriculate here, work in our businesses, they support our businesses, they help teach our kids, they help train at the YMCA. There is an incredible asset. We've already seen when Bloomsburg University makes the sophomores live on campus what that does to our student housing stock, which again is one of our largest industries in town. So having to adapt to what the university is doing, in addition to continuing to stay thriving, have a thriving downtown, and continue to grow the recreation areas that we have, and continue to just make Bloomsburg the great place that it is to live, is going to be challenging with all sorts of the economic challenges that the country faces. So I think it's important to have people that are willing to look forward instead of constantly looking back in how we navigate Bloomsburg going forward.
Thank you, Justin. Mark, to you. In your opinion, what are Bloomsburg's priority issues and what's needed to adequately address those issues? If funding is needed, how should those funds be generated?
Well, with any organization like this community is, the two most ultimate priorities are funding a police force so that we have a safe community and maintaining our roads, streets, and public areas. These are the fundamental priorities that we need to focus on. Once we found a way to fund these, then we can start to identify what are the wants and prioritize them. But it's focusing on our needs first, not our wants or individual thoughts.
Mark, we'll continue with you. The most recent economic impact study from the university indicates that it adds over 350 million to the region's economy. To the region's economy. What's your vision for strengthening the relationship between the town and the university to maximize the benefits for both entities as well as residents and students?
The university is definitely extremely important to us. It's unfortunate that they are having some of the challenges that they're having, which directly impact us. But I would look at reinstating the Town and Gown Committee, which should be the focal point for a meaningful relationship between the town, the university, and the residents. I'd also focus on a regular basis, having internship programs as well as internships. It's a great opportunity for the students to get real life experience, and it's a way that we can maybe get very low cost labor or potentially free labor, and it's an excellent partnership. The other thing we need to do is continue to address the wonderful block party. We need to focus on the ordinances that are in place for large gatherings. So this past year, I had my first time where I experienced the block party adventure. I probably spent 2 or 3 hours where I started on the upper side of Light Street Road talking to a lot of the police officers, which is a very expensive process because of the grants that we as taxpayers still pay directly or indirectly. It was good getting their input. I then walked halfway down Light Street Road and said, now's the time to go in and seal the real environment. Well, as I was about to walk in between two of the houses, unfortunately, there were about 5 young ladies standing like this with a person in between them with their shorts down to below their knees. So obviously, it's a problem. I went inside of the block party, and the first reaction was, undercover cop, undercover cop. I said, no, I'm Mark Gardner. I'm a candidate for mayor. I want to understand why you guys think this is important, and I'll tell you why I think you're doing it just justice to the area. And it looks like my time ran out. We're okay. We're okay. You were kind of hesitating.
Thanks, Mark. Justin, to you, the economic impact study for the university says it adds 350 million to the region's economy. What's your vision for strengthening the relationship between the town and the university to maximize the benefits for both entities as well as residents and students?
I've been encouraged recently by the switchover of the president at the university. They are much more willing to engage with the town and have reached out as such, as have many of the department heads that are being encouraged to do so. So I see lots more opportunities. I've already been approached about getting more arts types events downtown through the university. We're looking at having an intern to work in the entranceway of Town Hall, but internships with college students are difficult because they are college students. They're learning the process. We as a town employ 50 people, give or take, and those people have a lot of work to do, and they're professionals in how they do it. We do not have the time to be teachers for students. So yes, I think that there's opportunity to hopefully get some minimal type labor out of them, but we have not found that it's been particularly successful to have to rely on the college students when they have other classes and they have other priorities and things like that. We are a professional organization and need to run it as such. So I look forward to BU participating in homecoming again this year, and going forward, we can get back into that relationship of the community feeling comfortable coming on campus for things like Arts in Bloom and football games and those things. And then I think that the kids continue to come downtown and participate in the community in the ways that I've already mentioned.
Justin, we'll continue, and following this question, we'll move to our 10-minute break. where our audience members would be encouraged to write on their note cards any questions they might have to then get them to me. Our next question. So again, we'll start with Justin, and then Mark will end us here. There are competing visions in our community around roadways, including walkability, safety, and efficiency. Buzzworthy topics in the last year in the press enterprise include conversations about the directional change to Fort McClure Boulevard, the bike lane on Market Street, the discussion of a traffic light at Railroad Street, and the infamous, famous words, bulb outs. Give us your vision for a walkable, safe, and efficient Bloomsburg for the years to come.
Okay. Okay. I will say that there's nothing in life that does not come without compromise. The direction on Fort McClure Boulevard by making that one way saved us over $1 million on doing that walk on that project, and we see the success that has been down there. What we have now as far as our park complex along the river is a true waterfront park. I think that will continue to be able to be a huge payoff for the community, and yes, it's less than desirable that you have to go back the other way to come into town, but it's still a beautiful drive. And I live on between Iron and Catherine down by the park. I had to come from the pickleball courts the other day. It took me 7 minutes and 45 seconds to get back home. I do not think that is the worst of all things in the possible world, because I'm in a comfortable car, as is everyone else that is going there. So that's one of the things that is just sort of a compromise. And at some point down the road, we might be able to get something along the railroad tracks that gets out to the pickleball courts. We'll see. Nothing's not adaptable. As far as the walkability and other things, if you look at any country in the world that factors highly in happiness, connectivity, social structure, there's always lots of walkability and bikeable infrastructure. I think that Bloomsburg is well suited for it as well, because we are small, we have a nice gridded out pattern, and we also have a large amount of students that live in town and are going to the same place every day. So having bikeable areas and more walkable places makes a lot of sense. I also think that through design, and whether it's a bulb out or whatever you want to call it, is one way that we can influence people's behavior to behave in the way that we want them to. You know, we can't necessarily have police officers out patrolling speeding all the time, because we only have 3 officers on at a time. But we can make roads that do not encourage people to speed, and one of those ways that's, you know, statistically proven is by making them more narrow.
Justin, thank you. Mark, to you, there are competing visions in our community around roadways, including walkability, safety, and efficiency. The topics in the last year in the press enterprise have included the directional change to Fort McClure Boulevard, the bike lane on Market Street, and the discussion of a traffic light at Railroad Street, as well as these infamous bulb outs. Give us your vision for a walkable, safe, and efficient Bloomsburg for the years to come.
That's a mouthful of opportunities there. I would personally focus on walkability as the top priority, because almost any individual, no matter what your age is, what your physical capabilities are, you have the abilities to walk or use wheelchairs, things like that. The bikeability is important to realtors, but to me, it is a distant second. So I'll focus on the Market Street part. The first design was just, in my opinion, and many that I talked to, just disastrous. Putting the cars in one spot and the bikes in the other was very bad. So supposedly council has made the approval to go back to the cars to the street. But focusing on the bike path, to me, for some of the funding was a challenge and potentially a mistake. The town applied for the multimodal trust fund to work on the bike path for the lower part of Market Street. I asked the Admin's Finance Committee, are any strings attached to this grant? What do you mean? Well, if future councils want to amend, change, or eliminate the bike path, can that be done? We don't know. I asked the same question when it came to the full council. Are there any restrictions? We don't know. Well, a couple weeks after they accepted that, they found out that now, because they accepted the minimum $100,000, that bike lane has to be in place for its intended use. They should have used the funding to put sidewalks down by Town Park on both sides because everybody could use those. It's very dangerous now and would have been more beneficial for all the residents and all the visitors versus a more select group that are bikers that tend to be healthier, younger, and probably higher income.
Mark, thank you very much. We have timed this such that we are able to break at precisely 7:45, almost like we planned this thing. To our audience members, there's a restroom just outside in the hallway. If you have questions that you would like to submit to Taryn or to myself, you may do so. We will reconvene at 7:55. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much. Welcome back. Our next question will begin with Mark. Mark, how do you define economic development, and what role should the town government play in economic development within the town limits? What areas of town are ripest for future development?
Well, economic development is creating an environment where the public and private sector are willing to invest in our community or willing to stay in our community. To do that, they need to have confidence in the government unit, they need to have confidence in the leadership, and they need to believe that the town is willing to help those that are properly prepared. We don't have many opportunities as far as land space for economic development, but one area has potential with the parts of autoneum that they're looking at selling. That could be a prime example, but I understand that there are some nonprofits that may be seriously considering that. The other one that I think I'd like to see is within the downtown. With the transition from less student housing downtown, there are many of the second and third floors that have been primarily occupied by students. I think if we would focus more on the young professionals or the executives to try to transition these properties into individuals that can financially support our community much better would be a good idea. But in talking with some of the land developers or land owners, they're saying some of these properties have been cut up so much that it would take a fortune to try to bring them back to something reasonable. But hopefully, one by one, they'll start to do that. And I think bringing back organizations like the Landlord Association could help with that transition. But I think that is the area to focus on if the autoneum is not going to be something that remains within the private sector.
Mark, thank you. The question goes now to Justin. How do you define economic development, and what role should the town government play in economic development within the town limits? What areas of town are ripest for future development?
Right. I define economic development as gardening, essentially. It is our job to create a fertile soil for businesses to thrive. And in part of that is government staying out of the way of businesses. In downtown, we have seen when DBI comes and is interested in doing pocket parks, we've said, okay, how can we make this happen? Same thing with CSG. I agree with Mark that the Autoneum building is the most fertile ground for new development in the town of Bloomsburg, that we need to find a way to try to work with partners that have a vision to get there. There's a lot of challenges with that building. We've been in it several times with all sorts of people that have different ideas. We need to find ways to work with them. Again, that's going to look differently for every person that has a different idea with their own finances and what the town can accommodate. Many years ago, when interest rates were much higher, the town was able to offer low-interest loans that got businesses like Rosemary's and Bloomin' Bagels started in town. If those economic factors come into play again, we can always use the creditworthiness of the government to try to help out. But ultimately, I think that there will always be people who see opportunity no matter what the business landscape is. And this town, which I have seen for most of my life, be a town of no, be a town of yes, and say, we will work with these people that have unique ideas and are willing to stick their neck out on the line and employ people. How can we make this work for you in the town of Bloomsburg?
Thank you. The Columbia Montour Chamber is a regional entity with businesses across a two-county footprint. Through the Chamber and other partners, Bloomsburg has benefited from a regional perspective on such topics as tourism, transit, like Stop Hopper, and more. In what ways can the town take advantage of regionalization and grow its relationships with neighboring communities for the betterment of its residents? We'll start with Justin.
Okay. Ooh, those are all good ones. I think that regionally, this is one of the first step with the BART is what we have here in town. Connectivity of that to Danville is going to be the next step. There's already plans along the Canal Trail with Mark and others in Montour County. So working with that to connect that, well, you see the popularity of the Buffalo Valley Trail in Lewisburg to Mifflinburg. We can be replicating that here too, and hopefully at some point we get to Berwick as well. Trails like that all over the state are seeing major bumps in tourism dollars for the communities that they hold. Stop Hopper is another one. Rural mass transit is a huge issue in this area. We need to be doing a better job of it. Stop Hopper is an excellent first step, and that has grown as the system has proven itself successful, incorporating areas of Berwick now and Lionsgate and other areas that we see to, again, it's app-based. We're using technology in ways to be able to better living for our community. Otherwise, regionalization, I think we are going to have to continue to revisit this with policing in the future because we're seeing staffing shortages. We are not getting the amount of people that come out for these jobs when they are open, so it is more difficult to fill police positions. When we used to have 50 people that we could pick from for a civil service test, we're seeing 10 or less, which generally gets whittled down to 1 or 2 candidates that are viable. These are issues that every community in our area is suffering from. So we're going to have to work together to find solutions to them.
Mark, the question goes to you. The Columbia Montour Chamber is a regional entity with businesses across a 2-county footprint. Through the Chamber and its partners, Bloomsburg has benefited from a regional perspective on such topics as tourism, transit, and more. In what ways can the town take advantage of regionalization and grow its relationships with neighboring communities for the betterment of its residents?
Continuing to form partnerships, both within the public sector and the private sector, are going to be extremely important. The things that are mentioned here have been very successful, but I think we need to continue to partner with organizations that are pro-business, like the Chamber, like Community Strategies Group, like the county commissioners of Columbia County as well as Montour County, because there's going to be many additional things we can do, but the key is to first see what areas of interest the counties have, then what are the potential options, and then prioritizing which are the best solutions. It's a long process. It doesn't happen overnight, but keeping the discussions going and getting the right players at the table is what's going to create the ultimate success. But again, the things that were mentioned here are very good items that can be built upon.
Mark, thank you. Next, we'll move to some questions from our audience members. We have several, so let's move forward. Thank you to our audience for submitting all your thoughtful questions. First one, homelessness. Do you see this as an issue in Bloomsburg, and how would you handle the homelessness issue if elected? Mark, let's start with you.
It seems to be a growing trend everywhere, which is very sad and very unfortunate. I personally have not witnessed it much here, but again, maybe I don't frequent the areas where the homeless are trying to stay. I think the organizations like Agape and some of the Gatehouse in Danville are trying to address this solution, and we need to do it in a way where we can help those that have had bad luck or made a couple bad judgments. We shouldn't focus on those that continually make bad judgments at the cost of helping those that truly need it. So it's something that can get to be a bigger problem, because then it can lead into police issues, it can lead into safety issues, it can lead into reputation and image issues. So taking the key organizations that are involved, trying to have them properly address it with the support of the residents in the town is one way to look at it.
Thank you, Mark. We'll move to you, Justin. Homelessness. Do you see this as an issue, and how would you handle the homelessness issue if elected in November?
Homelessness is most certainly an issue in Bloomsburg. It's a regional issue, it's a nationwide issue. Currently, Agape is our primary source of contact for the homeless populations. They partner well with the Gatehouse in working together. Our Code Blue program over the winter, I think, has been incredibly successful at being a humanitarian response to a serious issue of people that are having to sleep outside. People are sleeping outside or are homeless for all sorts of different reasons, and homelessness looks very different in a rural area like ours than it does necessarily in a city because we do not see people on the streets. There's not going to be a place you go where you see masses of people sleeping around, but there's lots of people that are couch surfing or do not have a permanent residence, which makes them technically homeless. Last year, there were about 15 regulars at the Code Blue facility. Agape was able to house 7 of them. They were also working with companies like Autoneum and Connier to get those folks jobs. The new director, Ammon Young, at the library has expanded social programs there in an effort to get people there in the afternoon to have a safe place to be that they can work on getting any paperwork that they might need as far as working with the government, or otherwise just getting contact with social workers that can get them directed to the place that they need to be. Part of this issue is mental illness, part of this issue is addiction, and part of it's just, generational poverty. The other organization that we have in town is the New Possibilities down on 7th Street at Trinity Church. They are doing amazing work there as well, offering a safe place to be during the daytime and a quick route to get people who need the treatment when they come in. So I think that we are going to continue to work these relationships that we have with existing community partners in better ways and hopefully work as a nation to solve the problem.
Justin, thank you. Next question goes to you. From our audience, what, if anything, can the town do to improve the housing stock for families, particularly now that there are fewer students living off campus?
Ooh, that is a tough one. As I mentioned, with Bloomsburg University moving the sophomores onto campus, it has created a void of housing. And student housing is not particularly well suited for others, but we are seeing some incredible, and again, this goes back to innovation and entrepreneurship. I would say John King and Jason Huff and his wife and others with Zero Tenant Realty have done some amazing things with taking existing student housing and making it acceptable for new residents that want to come. It does suit young professionals well, young families, but ultimately our housing stock is an ecosystem, and we have people that are at different points in that ecosystem at any one time. So I think that the way that we refresh our housing stock is getting everybody where they need to be. Look at how quickly these apartments fill up here. There's a serious need for older folks housing where people can get down and have less maintenance for their home so that new families or growing families can move into those homes. So we need to work on our senior housing. We need to work on finding ways to work with creative entrepreneurs to retrofit what was student housing. But if you look down 5th Street, there's all sorts of houses that were at one point single family homes that got put into apartments that are now back to single family homes and otherwise. Having codes and having a town that, again, says yes to creative ideas of how to adapt our housing stock to the needs of the community is the way that we're going to hopefully continue to have Bloomsburg thriving.
Thank you. Mark, the question goes to you. What, if anything, can the town do to improve the housing stock for families, particularly now that there are fewer students living off campus?
Well, I think, as Justin mentioned, the complexes here are excellent examples of very good housing for the targeted market. Continuing to work with Community Strategies Group is very important. I know they're working with the town on I guess they call it the old Jimmy Dean property. That has potential to help address some of this problem. But it goes back to my original comment about the downtown housing is, that's where I would like the landowners that have the capital, have the vision, and have the time frame to try to transition those as quick as they can or as they can do it given the funds they have, because eventually if those type of properties have renters that aren't as attractive to the community, it's going to again create more challenges for our community. And let's focus on those that can live here, want to live here, and are beneficial citizens for all of us.
Thank you, Mark. Next question, we start with you. If elected, what would you do during the next term to attract people and businesses to Bloomsburg?
I think the whole key is setting an environment where people trust, respect, and have confidence in the town leaders, because not all the time does that happen. I mean, you see every town has cycles where one day, Bloomsburg's at the top, the next time Danville's at the top, but we need to focus on bringing the leaders together, and I forgot the rest of that question, so I apologize. Some of these are getting a little long.
That's okay. I'll read it again for you. If elected, what would you do during the next term to attract people and businesses to Bloomsburg?
Yeah, it's creating a proper tax environment. Are the residents getting the proper value for the taxes that they're paying? Are we focusing on the needs of our community versus the wants of our community? And are we going to continue to be a safe location, which I'm sure we always will be? Are we going to be a place that has a lot of things to do? Well, yes, we've spent a lot of money on the recreation area, so there's a lot of opportunities out there. So thank you.
Justin, the question moves to you. If elected, what would you do during the next term to attract people and businesses to Bloomsburg?
Right. So in my opinion, I think that we have taken the Rescue Act money and we have set a really excellent stage to continue the good things that Bloomsburg has going. Over the last several years, we've seen the First Friday events grow and grow, that once a month we have a whole influx of people that are coming downtown and seeing what all we have to offer. And I will give a shout out to my wife for that. For initiating that, and that has grown with other people seeing how successful it is and getting involved and taking their own ideas and putting into it. We have currently a weekly running club that's leaving from Miller Avenue on Wednesdays. We have a community bike group that takes a community ride every Tuesday. We have wonderful things here like the Cake and Ice Cream Festival, the concert in the park, the Bloomsburg Fair. There's all of this going on, and we need to continue these type of activities that get people together and get people sharing ideas and saying, hey, I'm really into this. How can we get together and support each other's enthusiasm for our community and for activities? Because ultimately, we're all competing with the internet all the time. So having things that people can actually come do, and I have to say our library too. There's so much going. There's 500% more things going on in our library than there was 3 years ago. We are moving in the right direction, and I think we already have the premier community in the area. When I talk to people that have come here to work at Geisinger, they regret getting encouraged to live in Danville because they spend most of their time in Danville, especially or in Bloomsburg, especially because if they have kids, because of all the things we have going on here. So I still think you can get a real good house for less than $200,000 in Bloomsburg. It's a very affordable place to live, and it's a wonderful community to live in.
Thank you. The next question, we'll start with you, Justin. What are the biggest draws for young professionals and families who are considering moving into Bloomsburg?
I think I just answered that question, but I'll continue that, I guess. When I got back to town in 2019, I got involved immediately because I got drugged to a meeting by Tom Tobin to the Friends of the Bloomsburg Town Pool. And a wonderful gentleman, Mr. John Green, had been working really hard with this group to try to get the pool open for a while, and it sort of stagnated, and we needed to get it over the line. It was a tough job to get done because at that, we got in right before the Rescue Act spending. There wasn't any of this going on. So we had to re-energize the campaign, and we were able to get the fundraising up to a point where we got the town to agree that, okay, we've raised this, they would take out the rest, and we would finance the group would finance the debt. Having that town pool open again, I think, is the greatest thing that we've been able to accomplish as a community over the last 5 years. This is the third season. We broke even at the pool this year. We have a system that works now going forward that will allow us to hopefully put money away for the maintenance going forward, and we won't have this closed down again. But as I spend my summers down there, and I was able to get there much more frequently this summer, the diversity of the people that are taking advantage of that, the programs that are going on at the pool, everything from seniors to children to special needs folks that get together there on Wednesdays and walk around together. It's the greatest thing going, and I can't think of anything better that we could have done for the community.
Thank you, Justin. Mark, the question to you is, what are the biggest draws for young professionals and families who are considering moving into Bloomsburg?
Well, I think the key one is quality of life and also affordability. I mean, I look at myself when I finished college, most of my fraternity brothers wanted to go to the big cities of New York and Philly and DC to make the big bucks and to do all this stuff. I said, no thanks. I want to live within central PA where rather than commuting an hour or two a day, I can spend time doing the community service work. So the quality of life here can be extremely valuable to anybody that wants to have a good life, wants to make a good living, wants to have a lot of safety, and a lot of opportunities for things to do. I mean, some say there's nothing to do around here. Well, they're totally wrong. There's plenty of things to do. Even things like Bloomsburg Theater Ensemble. You're not going to find other communities in PA or the nation that can have a live professional theater in a town of this size. So we as an organization and as a community need to focus on the positive things we have and not bicker about the things that we don't like. Come together, and that's going to unite and help recruit these younger individuals.
Hear, hear.
Mark, to you, do you feel political affiliation is important in local government?
At the local level, I do not think political affiliation matters at all. It's the credibility, the capabilities, the commitment, and the character of the individuals. My only qualifier to that is having diversity on council and mayor can be beneficial for future funding opportunities because the council has to have a good relation with our elected officials. Right now, the state rep, the state senator, the U.S. rep, the U.S. senator are all Republicans. I have a very positive relationship with that chain of command. If we don't have a positive relationship, it can create challenges down the road. And when anybody has less than positive comments that are our current elected town officials about these people, it can come back to backfire because they're the people that control the purse strings. If you have a positive relationship with them, you have a better chance of getting the funding. If you have a negative relationship, it's very easy to pass the dollars around. So bottom line, it truly shouldn't matter. It's about the individual, not whatever party they may say they are part of.
Mark, thank you. Justin, the question goes to you. Do you feel political affiliation is important in local government?
I do not. Our tax base is what it is. It's everyone's job on council to try to be improving that as much as we can with the tools that we are given. That sometimes is going to have differences based upon what programs are available from either the state or the federal government. But ultimately, what I find concerning about Mr. Gardner's answer is if you were an elected official, you are elected to represent everyone in your district. It doesn't matter whether you're a Republican or a Democrat. If you come to anyone that is your elected representative, they should be open to your concerns because they represent you. We have wonderful relations with Linda Culver. She just moved her office here to Mulberry Mills, which I think is a huge boon for the town. She recognizes that it's a good place to be because of all the things that we have going on here and in this building in particular. Dave Millard is another one. Great guy. You don't need to be a Republican. He worked for our community. So I think that it's too bad that any of it gets involved because there realistically is not that much difference between the parties. But ultimately, no, there's no reason to have any partisanship on council. We're all here for the betterment of Bloomsburg.
Thank you. This next question from our audience is, what is a financial metric in town that disappoints you, and how would you improve it? Justin, we'll start with you. Financial metric in town that disappoints you, and how would you improve it?
Look, any community makes their income from taxes, essentially. So we have a property tax, we have an earned income tax, we have an amusement tax. Those are kind of our big ones that we get, in addition to state funding and things. Our property taxes are tied to our assessments, which are controlled by the county commissioners. So if there's not a regular assessment on a regular basis, our tax mill is what it is. We can only adjust on a regular basis. But if that doesn't get adjusted, and if you did it on a more regular basis, there's going to be some winners, there's going to be some losers, but we know that it's, a predictable period of time. And whether that's 5 years or 10 years, whatever, it would allow the entirety to readjust to the economic situations. Even if the town of Bloomsburg did nothing on a regular basis, we have contracts with the majority of our employees that include raises. So if we did not spend another dime on anything, our costs go up because of our labor. So how do we find ways to attract people that are maybe higher earners to town? We could get a little bit more of earned income tax from that. Well, I think we're doing a lot of that. We have a popular community that is healthy and safe and with lots of recreational opportunities for everyone that lives here. And I also think that everything's kind of a perspective. The properties are affordable, but they're also, we're lucky that we're not dilapidated enough that people are coming in and buying whole blocks to revitalize them. So we have good housing stock. We have a lot of good things going on. We just need to keep finding unique ways to get more businesses thriving and get more high earners coming in and to pay their fair share, I guess.
Thanks, Justin. Mark, the question to you is, what is a financial metric in town that disappoints you, and how might you improve it?
I think to adequately answer that question, you need to be part of the elected officials we have, because I don't see a lot of the metrics because it's not information that I have access to. So, it was a good question that the person had, but again, based upon where I'm sitting at this point in time, I don't think that I can intelligently address that.
So, Mark, we'll jump to the next one. How do you feel about transportation as it exists here in Bloomsburg? What plans might you have for improvement to transportation if elected?
Well, the only way to solve transportation is regionalization. And the rapid transit and the stop hopper, those are the ways to do it. I mean, we as a town don't have the resources to do a lot of the things that we want to do or need to do, and that can be a very expensive venture. So partnering with Columbia County, maybe even partnering with Montour County, maybe parts of Luzerne County, making it a regional effort is their only way to really solve that. But it is a critical issue as our community and as our region continues to age. The need for transportation is only going to grow. It's not going to shrink. So we have to prioritize how we do it, how we get the funding, and that's where working with our elected officials at the state and federal level could be the key to some of the resources.
Thank you, Mark. Justin, we'll go to you. How do you feel about the current transportation here in Bloomsburg? What plans might you have to improve it if elected in November?
I think current transportation in Bloomsburg is very auto-centric. It's difficult to live in our area and not have a private vehicle. So services like the stop hopper that allow people that have either mobility issues or transportation shortcomings to be able to get around is very important. We need to support that. The county commissioners have been good about supporting that thus far. We need to make sure that as a community, we lean on them to continue to do that. I also think that there's possibly some opportunities. We do have a rail that goes all the way from Danville over to Berwick and on through that is not highly used. Is there ways that we would be able to use that on a regular basis? I don't know. I also think that there's opportunities with electric cars and some type of Uber type service or otherwise incentivizing rideshare services that would allow people that might otherwise not be able to work consistent schedules because they're caretakers for their family or otherwise to be able to serve their community by offering rides. I think we also need to partner with Geisinger as one of our largest employers in the area, where so many people are both working and going to appointments there on a regular basis, is how can we get consistent transportation services to and from Geisinger, because there's people in every community that are going there. And anytime we can identify a place, and similar to why I feel the way I do about bikes with Bloomsburg University, is when you have a mass of people that are going from from point A to point B consistently every day, we should find ways to get them there with mass transit.
All right. Justin, to you, a while ago, a study group stated that Bloomsburg could go on a road diet. This was reported in the Press Enterprise. Do you agree or disagree?
I agree. I think that the transportation system in Pennsylvania, and like the whole East Coast, was developed over time from a rural transportation needs that people were taking their goods and services from farms into areas like Bloomsburg or larger cities and whatnot. And then those became state roads, and then highways were built otherwise. I don't think that if we were to redesign Bloomsburg tomorrow, what we would put is a 4-lane highway down our main street. And I also know that from the conversations that we've had over the last 4 years with the police about how we monitor speed and otherwise, we're not able to run radar on town. It's dangerous to pull out from Main Street to try to get anybody. And what we see, even the other day with people revving their motorcycles and things like this, when Bloomsburg is not at peak traffic times, what those 4 lanes allow for is basically just a drag strip down our main street. And there's not really any reason to be there. This sort of goes back to everything being a trade-off. If we are working on retiming for the lights that would tie our system into main source in Bellefonte, that if we got busy for things like accidents on the highway or whatever, they would be able to change the light screen. But ultimately, if we can get things timed where everyone moves at, let's say, 20 miles an hour through town, you're not really losing that much time. But we would be able to shrink those lanes down and either have wider sidewalks or a bike lane or whatever it is. One of the more innovative things I've seen recently is taking a whole bike lane through a more crowded area that was also able to be used for emergency services to bypass all the traffic when they were coming through. So I think, again, this is a matter of innovation and ingenuity as to how we solve this problem, but it's not going to suit everybody.
Thank you. Mark, the question comes to you. A while ago, a study group stated that Bloomsburg could go on a road diet. This was reported in the press enterprise. Do you agree or disagree?
Well, I think everything and almost everybody could go on some type of diet. It's just a matter of what the details are. I personally do not think it would be a wise idea to make the main street down to 2 lanes, because look at how many times you try to go downtown and there's delivery trucks parked on one of the lines. What do you do about that? How often do you see traffic from Route 80 channeled through downtown Bloomsburg? Because the area from Berwick to the Columbia Mall seems to be a very high accident area for tractor trailers and things like that. We can't control that, but we can control what is in our downtown, and I would not look at going on that type of road diet. If there's other things that we can maybe change, one ways only going certain directions downtown to make it easier, or if we can alter some of the parking scenarios, that could be an option, but not based upon the information I'm hearing would I support that concept.
Understood. Thank you, Mark. Well, it is 8:27, and we could absolutely go on for another hour or so with the questions we received, but I'll honor our time. And I just want to say to our candidates and to our audience, thank you so much for joining us this evening. At this time, I'd like to ask each of our candidates to make a closing statement of 2 minutes or less. Given our coin flip, we'll begin with Justin, and Mark will have the final word on the evening. Before I conclude, let me just say, please join me. Tuesday, November 4th is Election Day. Please engage with the election process and really get the word out to your neighbors and friends here in Bloomsburg that we have 2 excellent candidates for mayor in Bloomsburg. So with that, Justin, let's start with you. Your closing remarks.
It has been a pleasure to be the mayor of the town of Bloomsburg. I thoroughly enjoy this role for not only the diversity of thought that it takes to manage things from public works to community police to all of the recycling center, all of it, the way that this community works together, and then in addition with all of our nonprofit partners, I think is just fascinating, and we do it really well. My heart is continually warmed in my travels through this community by the people that are working really hard to make it better for others. I said when I first got on council, I do not think that our problems are unique, and I still feel that way. We just have to figure out how we want to solve our problems as Bloomsburg. And I can't say that everything's been perfect. I can't say that every solution has come with no hiccups. This job is certainly a difference in both Mark and I's background. You can't get dropped into something like this and say, oh yeah, I know how to do that, because no one knows how to do this until you start doing it. And that's part of the fun and also some of the frustration. I will definitely say when I first came on, there was the big meeting for racing at the fair, and then we got into trying to clean up the park with the avian droppings. And I will say that I think that I was overwhelmed and could have handled some things better at the time than I did. But you get in your groove, you work with your team, and we have a great team here in town. I really enjoy working with everyone that works for the town of Bloomsburg and works for the town of Bloomsburg, or works with and works for. So I hope you'll continue to allow me to do it for another 4 years, and I look forward to continuing to serve the community.
Thank you, Justin. Mark, 2 minutes for closing remarks.
Okay. I've been blessed to call Bloomsburg home for the past 25 years. I'm looking forward to using my 40-year track record of having leadership, teamwork, and fiscal responsibility to benefit our town. I'm eager to leverage this to make Bloomsburg an even more vibrant and energetic community. I'm looking forward to leading our staff, supporting our local businesses, and working in conjunction with our town council members to achieve the goals that we would like to do. We're not going to agree on everything, but honest respect for differing opinions and open dialogue and honesty are critical to what we want to accomplish. I'm also going to make mistakes. That's a given. It's just a matter of how many I make. But the key is I learn from my mistakes, and rarely do I make the same mistake twice. If I do, shame on me, but it's not the norm. I kind of put together the slogan, let's grow together. And that has kind of twofold. One is, let's grow together as a community. Let's grow our strengths. Let's grow our financial future. And let's grow our reputation and image. The second part is, let's grow together as a community. Because right now, if you look nationally or locally, there are many extreme views and beliefs. The key is, let's focus on what we can work on. Let's focus on how we can work together and do the best we can to make this a community that we're proud of, where people want to live here, they find it a destination point, and they are truly proud. I mean, I believe in Bloomsburg, and I know you all have an important decision to make on November 4th. I ask for your trust, your support, and your vote. Thank you.
Thank you all very much for coming. This concludes our candidate forum for Bloomsburg Mayor.